Welcome to Marrickville. So Marrickville is an inner city suburb. It's full of culture, plenty of character, and it's very well known for its dining scene. It's a really trendy suburb, but happens to not be pretentious. And there's lots of developments happening, but it still manages to maintain that kind of middle class grit that it's known for, that a lot of Sydney-siders will have grown up with the Marrickville that they remember from the 90s. And the best thing about Marrickville is it's great access to the city. You're perhaps only 10 kilometers away from the Sydney CBD. It has great public transport with the current train and public buses. And there's also the metro upgrade that is going to be finished in the next few years, which will cut down already very low travel times. There's great public spaces around, and there's an awful lot of greenery, playgrounds, recreational areas, and amenities. Gentrification is definitely apparent in this suburb, which makes it ideal for younger families. As you walk around Marrickville, you'll see an awful lot of the old style and character that made it so apparent for its grit back in the 90s and 90s. But the gentrification, as more and more prosperity moves into the suburb, you can start to see as the houses start to become more modern, you start to see more development and money being spent on transport, like the new metro being built, which makes it a very, very up and coming suburb in the inner city Sydney area. So some key stats about the suburb. It has a population of about 28,000 people. And if you are to travel to the Sydney CBD by public transport, it's only going to take you on average about 15 minutes. That time gets larger if you choose to drive. It's about 25-minute drive to the Sydney CBD. Now, depending on what part of the suburb you're in, because it is a very, very big suburb, but for most people, the nearest train station is going to be Marrickville train station. However, there is Sydenham train station and Tempe for those in the east and southeast of the suburb. We've also got Dulwich Hill to the west, Petersham to the north, and Stanmore. All have great access to the city, all have their own train stations. And if I had to pick three highlights of the suburb, it would be the many breweries, the organic food and farmers market, and the new up-and-coming Marrickville metro train line, along with the newly built shopping centre Marrickville Metro. This suburb is great for young families, small families, first-time home buyers, and young people in general. So definitely the most attractive part of Marrickville is its dining scene. There's an awful lot of food choices here, and in comparison to neighbouring suburbs like Newtown, it is in the more affordable range, and it has just as big, if not more, of an opportunity in terms of different diversities of food. So it's mostly a mixture of older multicultural dining establishments that have been around for a long time, and the occasional kind of new chic hipster spot that has come in the last few years due to the gentrification of the suburb. It's massively ethnically diverse. You can get any type of food here in Marrickville, with pretty much every major cuisine found in the Marrickville suburb along the main streets if you look hard enough. And of course, there's still plenty of cafes to get your coffee fix, have a little sweet treat, found all over the main streets. Plenty of sit-down restaurants, Baba Place being a favorite of mine. It's behind a roller door, serves killer Mediterranean food, focaccia, prawns. Really, it serves everything. I wouldn't even know what type of cuisine I could list it at, because it has pretty much everything. And then another cool place is Laza. This is a Filipino restaurant, and there's pretty much no plates, no cutlery. You just rock up with your mates. I think it's about 35 bucks per person. You get a mountain of food, like a ridiculous amount, and you just have a laugh, have some good fun. And yeah, it's different, and it kind of changes things up from the traditional, knives and forks type food that we're all used to. So another favorite of mine is Hello Auntie. This is a Vietnamese place where they give you a DIY rice roll maker, where they give you all the ingredients, how to make it up, and a little set, and then you make your own rice rolls as you like them, which is pretty cool. And then they have all the traditionals like pho and banzio. But there's plenty of Greek food here in Marrickville. There is an absolute ridiculous amount of Vietnamese food. Like, I'm not even joking, there are so many different Vietnamese shops here in Marrickville, which is great. If you're like me, you love Vietnamese food, you love banh mi, banzio, pho, all that stuff is so good. One of my favorite places is Marrickville Pork Roll. and we're going to go there after this, to be honest with you. And don't let the line scare you. They pretty much only have like a handful of things on the menu, and they just fire them out. That line moves so quickly, and it has a really killer crispy pork roll. I think it's only like $9 or $10 if I remember right, which is pretty affordable for a quick lunchtime grab. Now, schools are a big one when it comes to buying your home, whether you're a first-time home buyer and you're first thinking out about starting a family, or you're perhaps a young family and your current family has now outgrown your home and you're looking to get into something more spacious. Schools play a major part in your home buying decision. Many public government schools have an intake area, and if you don't live within that intake area, it makes it very difficult to send your kids to that school. So for that reason, it becomes very important for certain families to buy and live in certain pockets with the intention of sending their kids to those schools. It's also been proven that good performing public government schools manage to keep house prices up even through hard times. So we've seen over 2022, when interest rates start getting hiked up, there was many areas where the suburb went down overall in median house price, but houses within certain school public government catchment areas managed to stay at least the same or happen to grow. The most obvious case was Bellevue Hill in Sydney's eastern suburbs. And this wasn't just apparent in Sydney, it was all through it. They've done it in various different countries. It was seen in Canada, it was seen in UK, seen in the US, and other cities here in Australia like Brisbane and Melbourne. So picking a house that falls within a good school government catchment area is absolute paramount. It's of the utmost importance to make sure not only your kids get the best possible future, but also your wealth is protected and the security of your family is protected. So here in Marrickville, there's about 4 main public government schools, and if you kind of look at the map of Marrickville, you can divide it up into quadrants. And you've got Wilkins Public School, which is located in the top left of the suburb. It's bordered by Dulwich Hill in the west and Petersham and Stanmore to the north, and it's the #1 ranked school in the suburb with a NAPLAN and ACARA score of 68.75. Now, I've done some research. In the last 12 months, the median house prices for houses in this suburb was about $1.8 million, which is actually 5% below the suburb median of Marrickville. Therefore, the Wilkin Primary Public School catchment area provides a very good location for those who are looking for a more affordable buy-in, perhaps first-time home buyers who haven't built up equity in their current home and are looking for a good school to start their family off in. So you can get the #1 ranked school in the suburb and a median house price 5% below the suburb medians. So it checks that affordability aspect and good schooling aspect for the development of your children. Now, next on the list is Ferncourt Primary School. Very green area. It's down in the bottom right of the Marrickville suburb. It has the second highest school score in the suburb of 68.12 and a median house price of 2.45 million, which is about 29% above the suburb median house price. So it's definitely in the more affluent and expensive area, probably to do with its proximity to a lot of green space and all the parks and Marrickville golf course down in that south part of the suburb. There tends to be a lot more land available on the lot sizes down here, which makes it good for development or if you're looking to extend out your home. This is an ideal spot for young families that are potentially upsizing because their current family has outgrown their current home. They have some good equity built up in their home and they're looking for a good change of scenery, some more green space and a bigger plot of land, but they still want to stay in the Marrickville suburb. Now, #3 is Marrickville Public School. This is in the top right of the suburb with Newtown to its east and Stanmore to its north. It's got a school score of 59.74, which is #3 in the suburb, and a median house price of $1.658 million, which is 12% below the median house price of the Marrickville suburb. So it's a lot more affordable in the catchment area of Marrickville Public School. However, there is a trade-off for this affordability, as the Marrickville Public School catchment area ranks only #3 in the suburb. And then finally, we have Marrickville West Public School, which is in the bottom left school score here is 59.21, which is number 4, so last out of the 4 schools in the suburb, with a median house price there of $2.3 million. So an awful lot more expensive in comparison to Marrickville Public and Wilkin Primary School. It is 21% above the median house price of the suburb. So you may have noticed that if you were to draw a line halfway across and split Marrickville into two, the top half of the suburb is the more affordable aspect in terms of house prices, with the Wilkin Primary taking the top left and Marrickville Public taking the top right. Both are below the suburb median house price, while Ferncourt Primary in the bottom right and Marrickville West Public in the bottom left are in the more expensive, the more affluent areas. Houses tend to be a lot more expensive in the bottom half of Marrickville, probably to do with its proximity to the green space. It should be noted that all of these suburb school scores rank above 57 out of 100 on the NAPLAN and ACARA school score. And if you look back through the historical data, all houses within school catchments that rank 57 out of 100 and above tend to have doubled in value every 7 years. So there was a lot of security in all of these schools in terms of your family's wealth and in terms of your family's long-term security. So if you're a first-time home buyer, it's your first time buying, you have built up a lot of equity, Wilkin Primary in the top left of the suburb is probably a good bet to go and try and buy in. Whereas if you are looking for a bit more space, you've built up some equity, you're looking for a bit more of a lot size, a bigger land component to the house, the Ferncourt Primary School, which ranks number 2 in the bottom right of the suburb, perhaps will be a better choice for you and your family. Okay, it wouldn't be much of a Marrickville suburb review if we didn't talk about the breweries. So there's actually an Inner West Ale Trail that you can follow, and it'll bring you around all the different breweries around Marrickville. I went to one of the first on the trail. It's called Mixtape. It's pretty new. I think it only opened in the last year. It seems like there's always new breweries in Marrickville. They pop up like mushrooms after it rains. And this place was obviously pretty empty because it was early in the day, but they do some nice food. They do a dumpling day, and they change their beers pretty regularly. And that was Stockade just around the corner. Unfortunately, it was closed, so I didn't get to show you. But batch brewing, one of my favorites, and I was really surprised because I think this was like a Thursday afternoon and it was packed. So I think there was maybe a corporate event, or it's just a testament to how popular the place is. It's really cool. They do great beers in there and they do some good grub as well. This is a quick shot of their brewing process, so you get a look at their cylinders as well. And then just around the corner is the Bob Hawke Leisure Centre. So I don't know if that's just a bit of irony playing leisure centre, but it's a really popular place. It's huge inside and they do an awful lot of beers. It's great if you're having like a birthday or you're catching up with some friends and you just want to get some food. One of my favorite spots to go to. You can sit outside, so they got a bit of a patio as well. And then finally topped it off with a place called Filter. So I don't know if it was like a community center or something. That's what the vibe it kind of gives me as you walk in. But then when you come into the interior of the bar, it's really, really cool. They got lots of seating, lots of nice food, and you get to see the brewing process as well. Like you get to see the guys working away there, which is awesome as well. So in terms of housing, the Marrickville suburb is mostly California style bungalows. There are apartment blocks and units all throughout the suburb as well, but it's mostly these California style bungalows that were really, really popular and really took off in between World War One and World War Two. They kind of just sprung up all over, and that's what gives Marrickville its real suburban feel. Because even though we're so close to the CBD now, back in the day, this would have been considered way out further and into the sticks. So the median house price in Marrickville is about $1.8 million. That's over the last 12 months, and it's down about 0.5%. And you could get a 4-bed house for $2.42 million, which is actually up 3% for the last 12 months. A 3-bed, which is the most popular house in the suburb, for $1.895 million, down 1.3% for the last 12 months. A 2-bed house for $1.55 million, which is down 1.7% in the last 12 months. In terms of apartments, the median price for an apartment is just over $800,000 over the last 12 months, which is up 2%. You can get a 3-bed apartment. These are very hard to come by in Marrickville. There's not an awful lot of 3-bed apartments. In fact, I think only about 20 of them have sold in the last 12 months. So if you do manage to get a 3-bed apartment and you're looking for one, hold on to it. They're very, very scarce, and you'll definitely see some capital growth in them over the future. They are going for about $1.2 million at the moment, down 2.8% over the last 12 months. A 2-bed apartment, which is by far the most popular apartment type in the suburb, you can get a 2-bedder for $825,000, which is down 2.9% for the last 12 months. And a 1-bedder, you can get a little 1-bed apartment for those who are just starting out, just trying to get their foot in the door and trying to build some equity. You can get them for a little over $600,000, which are actually up for the last 12 months of 1.3%. Now, rents for houses are going for about $850. They're up 9% for the year. So that's a real mark for the rental crisis that we're in at the moment. And apartments, they're going for about $550, up 11% for the year. In terms of like green space, Marrickville is in absolute no shortage of parks and areas to kind of have a kick around, do your exercise, have the kids get out and play football or any team sports. So I think in total there's about 24 parks in Marrickville. And the biggest ones are down at the south part of the suburb. There's the golf course down there. There's the park that I'm at here at the moment. There's soccer pitches for the kids to play at. And it just creates that kind of area that even though we are so close to Sydney CBD and we are considered like the inner part of the city, there's so much green space here that it feels very much suburbia, like you're way out in the sticks and it doesn't feel like you're really city living here. You can find dog parks sporadically all over the suburb as well to let the little pooches off and have the little run around. There's some rules in some of the parks depending on what type of dog and size and things like that. But in the grand scheme of things, there's plenty for dogs, there's plenty for kids, there's plenty for adults to get out and do their exercise if they like out running as well. So it's a great area in terms of green space and parks as well. Plenty of the parks have playgrounds and areas for the younger kids as well to kind of, tire them out for the day so they go to sleep in the evening. And it's a great family environment to see. It's a bit quiet here today because it is a Friday, but come weekend, these parks light up, they're full of activity. Plenty of sports and teams going on, lots of like fun runs and games going on and community events. And you just get the feeling that it's a real community here in Marrickville. It's not just a place to live, like it's a place, to create a community, to get involved, to make friends, have your kids grow up and like never really have to, venture too far and get an awful lot of what Marrickville has to offer.